In this video, we're going to break down chair pose, Utkatasana. And this can be a challenging pose. When I was really just diving back into my yoga practice following my accident 10 years ago, this was one of the hardest poses for me. It requires the full body, a lot of attention, a lot of awareness in your positioning. So Utkatasana chair pose can be done with your big toes touching or hips width distance apart. So if you're doing hips width distance apart, a good way to judge is if you can turn your foot in, it should connect perfectly, and that means your hips width distance apart. If your feet are hips width distance apart, your knees stay apart, and you'll see they're lined up right under your hips. I prefer to do this pose, big toes touching, slight space between my heels, and then when I sit into Utkatasana, my knees come to touch, and I can squeeze my inner thighs together. So we'll start with our hands on our hips, and we'll sit back into Utkatasana, and then our hands come up overhead, and that is our full chair pose. So let me show you from the side. So big toes to touch, start with your hands on your hips, you sit back, and your hands come up over your head. A few things I want you to notice here. Most of my weight is in my heels. I can actually lift my toes. My knees are back so I can see my toes. My sit bones are drawn under, my navel is drawn in. So I'm not arching through my back, sticking my bum out. I'm drawing it under, which allows me to lean my shoulders further back. And then my hands come up overhead with my biceps by my ears, sitting nice and deep. A few things you're going to notice as you're going through these videos is that positioning of your hands up by your arms up by your ears and the biceps in line with the ears is very common in a lot of poses, and it requires some of that opening. So remember, we talked about puppy pose to stretch that, and then just taking that tricep stretch, but that's going to be something you're really going to need to work on. So let's just kind of go through some of the different things you could do in chair pose, some of the things to be aware of. So again, commonly I will see knees past the toes, I will see big arch in the back, I'll see the chest really far forward, I'll see the arms lift and then the chest open. So those are some of the things you want to be careful of. I like to take my hands to my hips, sit deep, draw my sit bones under, and then from there navel draws in and arms lift. If you feel like you can't lift your arms without opening through your chest, take your hands out in front of you and hold them there for your chair pose. That is going to allow you to still sit deep and get the rest of the benefit without straining the shoulders or arching into the back, which we don't want. Commonly in class, you'll see different variations where you're here and then you release back into airplane arms, maybe squeezing the arms together. If you're doing this, you want to squeeze the shoulder blades together and squeeze an imaginary beach ball in your hand, keeping the weight in your heels. Another thing you'll see teachers do or have them ask you to do is lift into your heels. Again, it allows you to sit a little bit deeper. So try that balance, try some of those variations at home. And then another thing that you're gonna get asked to do from time to time is twisted chair. So we will go over some alignment cues for that. So first I'm gonna show you twisted chair towards the wall. I want you to see something in my knees. So I'm gonna sit back into my chair, my hands are gonna come to my heart, and I'm going to twist to the wall. And you're going to notice that I just did a couple things. I rounded through my back. My knees came out of alignment with each other, right? So if I twist towards you, you'll see my knees aren't stacked up anymore. My back's really rounded. This is not where we want to go. So let me show you what it looks like when we go where we want to go. Watch my knees. They're in alignment with each other. My hands are at my heart. I'm going to twist towards the wall. I'm going to use my core to twist towards the wall. Maybe my elbow connects. Maybe it doesn't, but most importantly is that my knees are still in alignment with each other and my back is long, not rounded. When we round through our spine and twist, we make our backs very susceptible to disc injuries and ligament injuries in our spine. We don't want that. So we're sitting nice and tall in our chair, and then we twist from our core with a long spine. Maybe we connect, maybe we don't, but we breathe there. And we keep that long spine, not cranking through the neck, not rounding through the spine. And that's going to allow us to get safely into that twisted chair pose. So hopefully you find that helpful.